Even if the external changes, the unconscious won't let the change ever happen. With the unconscious still not making you feel any better, getting your body to be the right shape, and you still don't feel any better about yourself, if you keep on trying to get more and more and more money and nothing really feels any better, you can't experience it. Well, what's the bloody point, right? And so that's why our unconscious goes, well, see, what's the point? You end up breaking it, but the experience always stays the same. 3 levels of consciousness. So the words that we all use so that everyone's on the same page, you know, everyone has different words to describe it, okay? But we'll use self-conscious, unconscious, and superconscious the best we can. Self-conscious or ego, the rational mind that makes choices, okay? It's conscious of the self. The self-conscious chooses your end results, what you're going to go for. The next is the unconscious. You might call it subconscious. I've got mentors who change between the two. I chose to use the word unconscious in my books and in all our work because sub and super made it feel like one was better than the other. And I was trying to make them not be like a hierarchy. So unconscious defines itself through feelings, creates programs, runs the body through automation. And so if the self-conscious chooses what you want to have in life, the unconscious allows you to have it or denies it. Okay, the unconscious allows or denies. The unconscious will only ever allow you to have what is safe. And then the last is the superconscious, which is a code of information. It has unlimited knowledge. It cannot think or feel, and it has a goal to be involved in the creation. So we've got this beautiful picture. This actually came from Simone Wright. She was my intuition teacher. She's still alive, but she just was my intuition teacher. And she's an amazing woman in LA, and she wrote the book First Intelligence. She's hired by the LAPD to find missing kids and stuff, like using her intuition. And so this is her picture, actually. And she's awesome. So down the bottom, okay, we have the self-conscious, and it's all about polarity, okay? So it's all about duality, good, bad, up, down, hot, cold, left, right, okay? So down here we have a good, and then we have a bad. So good might be healthy, right? Most of us will think good is healthy, bad is unhealthy, right? Most of us might think good is having, you know, safety, bad is being unsafe. Good is having loving family, bad is being alone, right? This is all in the ego and in polarity down the bottom, okay? And so that's what it's defining. Now the thing is that we never have what we think is totally bad, and we never have what we think is totally good. We always have something in the middle, right? Like most people aren't living on the street. Most people aren't like giving away $1 billion like J.K. Rowling did, you know? Like they're somewhere in their middle. And that middle is all to do with your unconscious, which always seeks balance. It always seeks balance. And so I always love to think about this like a pendulum. And wherever the balance is in your unconscious, because your unconscious wants the body to survive, right? It wants safety, homeostasis. It wants the body to stay in balance. And so it's always looking for this balance point. You'll see people like I did. I would make a certain amount of money and then just raise my expenses to meet it, because I was never allowed to be someone who had more than I could spend, right? You see this happens all the time. They might, externally might look different, but they just get to the exact same balance point, right? They might get in a relationship, but they still feel lonely and that they're not loved by anyone, right? Their body might actually be ripped it up on stage and, you know, looking awesome, but they still look in the mirror and think that they're not that. You see? So even if the external changes, the unconscious won't let the change ever happen. Follow it? And so because a lot of the times it becomes so hard to hold those external results with the unconscious still not making you feel any better, your brain goes, well, what's the point then? Right? If you've spent all this time getting your body to be the right shape and you still don't feel any better about yourself, at some point you go, well, what's the point? If you keep on trying to get more and more and more money and nothing really feels any better, you can't experience it. Well, what's the bloody point, right? And so that's why our unconscious goes, well, see, what's the point? You end up breaking it, but the experience always stays the same. And then so the top level is the superconscious, okay? And so what's connected is a beautiful energy, and I love how she drew it like DNA. So it looks cool. But anyway, she done that. And that's actually your consciousness. You're not one of these, you're all of them. Does that make sense? So when we're working with the superconscious mind, and we've got more description in here for you, what I want you all to get is the superconscious is a part of you. It is a part of you. And what we must do, this is one of the choices, is if you want to create something new, you need all parts of you to agree on that something new. Luckily, we can make some massive changes, and we're going to do a massive change history right now. Who's done that process, by the way? Massive change history, yeah. Who's got some results from the massive change history? Who's never done massive change history? Here we go. I'm going to get some new people up. How the massive change history process works is that we are always creating our current reality based on who we've been. The problem is that this imagination is sometimes completely wrong. So, for example, I once had a client, and it's kind of funny. It's not funny, but she laughs now. So when she was 4 years old, she was taken up in front of the church to be in a church play. And she was supposed to be there, and they were all dressed up to be in front of this audience, and everyone got a really good costume. And she got this weird, ugly, yellowy, green costume. And it was moldy cheese. And so she has to she's not happy about putting on this gross costume. And so as they all go out there, I mean, I wasn't there, so I don't know the story, but apparently the MC or whatever is introducing them, and then it's like, and young lady, like, what are you? Like, what are you supposed to be? Because can you imagine what it looks like? Right? Like, I don't know, like a booger or something. And so anyway, apparently he's like, what do you look like? What? Sorry, what? Moldy what? And then says to the audience, she's moldy cheese. And then everyone laughs. She's super embarrassed, doesn't understand why everyone's laughing at her, becomes a nickname that she's moldy cheese, and it's this thing, right? So fast forward 50 odd years, and then here's this amazing, capable, awesome woman having this experience that she can't be in front of an audience, and she doesn't know why. Sitting inside of her consciousness is this little girl who didn't want to be laughed at by everyone in her church. You see? And so instead of just going and standing in front of a group of adults and sharing what she loves, every time she tries to do it, the voice of that little girl pops up and says, never be embarrassed in front of an audience. And the unconscious throws up thoughts and feelings and fears and worries, throws all of that into her consciousness. And so instead, what does she do? Makes up stories, finds everything else to do but do what's needed, tries meditations and healings and therapy, right? Does everything else. And so this is very important, is most of the time our resistance is actually designed to solve a problem that hasn't been a problem for decades. Like, it's actually there, it's designed to protect us from a war that's been over for decades. And so I want you to get that. That's why the book's called You're Not Broken. You see how that amazing human, she's not broken. She just didn't want to be laughed at. She didn't understand. Is it true? And so many of us, we create this coding, and then we're, as an adult, perplexed at why we can't lose the weight or why we can't do this. And so it's not more information, it's not more hard work, it's not more motivation, it's not that the person is bad, it's not that they don't want it, it's not that they're not capable or smart enough, it's none of that. It's that they've got this little piece of code that says you're not allowed to have it. Does that make sense? And so what we must do is we must let it go. So the process of massive change history is our first one we're going to do this weekend. It's just a warm-up. And many of you have done it online with me, but probably not live. And it's a really fun process. And how it works is by using an anchor and confusing the brain. And it confuses the brain so the brain can no longer remember that same trauma or pain in the same way. Does that make sense? So put it this way. If the brain has a recipe that bakes a certain feeling called scared of public speaking, right? And it knows how to do that recipe over and over and over again. If we were to bake a chocolate cake and all of a sudden throw in tuna, we would no longer have the same chocolate cake, right? Yeah. So that's what we do here. We take the same recipe that's playing and we throw in a completely different feeling, thought, and emotion.